Lunch Money Lambert, Jeff Malott. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Yeah. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation, where we talk about fishing and competition. It's your boy Ox Pippin, aka Ox Fishing. Don't come over here tripping. Hey, hope you enjoy the show. Jeff Malott, Lunch Money Lambert, Lego. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Kayak Bass Nation. Hey, welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation. Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kayak Bass Nation.
Here we are.
How you doing tonight, Ryan?
Oh, I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
Good. Have you made public knowledge of what happened to you yet?
I haven't made a complete public announcement. I have managed to somewhat cripple myself thanks to a 12-year-old volleyball game. My daughter, her team had parents versus kids night last Wednesday. We did all our stretches, all our warm-ups, hammered out a couple games. In the dads versus moms game, I go up to block one, and when I came down, I don't know if I came down wrong or if it was because I was like moving to the ball. Something terrible happened. I thought somebody ran up and like tripped me, just like kicked my foot real hard. Well, when I hit the ground, of course, and I look behind me, and there's nobody close by. There ain't nobody tripped me. My Achilles snapped. So you need that in case no one knows what an Achilles tendon is. You need that to walk with. So I am out for like 3 months. I'm going to be living in a boot, low impact life, so to speak. Yep. Did it good that time, boys and girls.
That's bad. That's bad news, man.
It is tough. I will say that. I'm not somebody that likes to sit still. I like to be on the go all the time, and this is kind of torture. It's a little bit of torture.
So if you guys saw Ryan's Instagram, I think it was his Instagram and Facebook story with the scooter with the neon lights behind it. Now you know why that was in that picture.
I swore I would never do that until I hobbled around on crutches and about died 3 times Friday, and I was like, I don't care somebody get me a scooter. I'll steal one. I'll buy one, whatever. Somebody get me a scooter now.
So I think I've set this to go live on the Facebook group, and if you don't accept the permissions on the Facebook group, it just puts Facebook user in the comments. It doesn't put your actual name.
Oh no.
So somebody said, keep that leg elevated. I'll be down to keep you entertained, but I don't know who that is.
I like it. I like the attitude.
So you got a mystery user that wants to keep you entertained while you're
my leg. I've been trying to keep it elevated. It's super uncomfortable in this boot. I'm not a big fan of that, but
yeah.
You know.
So happens. You know. You're down and out, down but not out, Ryan. You'll be back stronger.
Am I? I don't know. I feel out. I feel pretty out.
Yeah, maybe you're out for a little while. Temporary out. But anyway, we're sorry, but hey, welcome to the on-ramp to becoming an old man. So there you go, Ryan.
Well, I hit it. I'm in the fast lane, I feel like.
Yeah. So what else went down over the weekend? Of course, we got our guests. We got Luke Graham, Tennessee Bass Nation winner on Douglas Lake, and then Jordan Westerman from St. Clair. Put the Smalley Smackdown up there. We're going to have him in the second half of the show, so it's going to be a good one. If you guys saw in the comments when we first got going, we are doing a giveaway tonight. Seagar package, Seagar line. So there you go. You guys know the drill on YouTube. Just like the video and comment where you're watching from. And on Facebook, all you have to do is like and share. We'd love a comment there too. And you have to share from the actual Facebook page. It won't let you share in the group because it's private. So do your thing, everybody.
Old Jaybird just saw the father of all tournaments post.
He's the Foat?
He's coming in a little slow today. It's all right.
Is that how we say it? The Foat?
Yeah, the folk.
All right. Hey, and today you guys always hear our intro song. It's been deemed probably the best intro song in fishing podcast by a couple of people.
Not probably. It is
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So the creator of that, man, the one and only Ox Pimpin', Ox Fishing, DJ Williams, it's his birthday today.
Happy birthday, DJ.
So we'd be remiss not to say happy birthday to DJ, the creator. Probably the key to our success is having that song.
I 100% think it is.
Yeah. So DJ, shout out to you. I don't know how old he is though. Do you?
37, 38, I thought he said.
It's in his prime.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what I thought too. Next thing you know, wham, bam.
Next thing you know, I hear you.
Done.
Yeah. Of course, over the weekend we had the USA Championship, right? The World Championship.
The World Championship, my friend.
Have you figured out? Of course, before we get into that, shout out to Cody for winning it.
Yeah,
no surprise. And our man Damian Tao, who we had on not too long ago, the hammer from California.
I know Tao slipped back out and got up in another one, didn't he?
Yep. So Damian getting it done. But I still have not figured out the scoring graph. When I first saw it, I thought we were playing cricket or maybe deciphering inflation or something. I didn't know what was going on there.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know. What really got me is that it was hosted in the U.S. fishing for bass. Traditionally, I mean, all the bass fishing here in the U.S. is measured in inches on a catch board. You have all these people coming in. I understand, the rest of the world's on the old centimeter scale there. Why not just hand them catch boards and score it in inches instead of switching over to centimeters? Then that whole penalty thing really blows my mind. Like maybe there's a little bit of hockey in it or something. I'm not. Do you get put in the box? What's happening? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. We're gonna have to hone that in. The whole deal. I saw the videos of a walking parade. I guess instead of doing beds of pickup trucks, they've now switched to walking down the sidewalk as a parade. I don't know. We got to hone that in. If it's going to be, Olympic associated world championship stuff, going to have to really put some effort into this one, please.
With all that's going on in the world, I just hope Cookeville wasn't afraid that there was about to be some sort of uprising or something right there.
I know, like, all 17 people's like, the hell's going on out here? Yep.
But hey, as always, we cheer for the laundry, so we're glad Team USA held.
That's right,
and won. So there you go, Team USA.
Don't come back to Cookeville, boys.
Yeah. Oh, is that going to be do we know? Maybe we need to have Richard Penny on here to explain this to us. But is that going to be like a traveling event, like Hobie Worlds, or is it Cookeville? And
I would hope so, because I don't think you can just keep doing it in Cookeville over and over again. I wouldn't think. That doesn't seem very worldly.
We're coming up on episode 200. It's going to be pretty soon, Ryan. Do you know that?
It feels like yesterday.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon, and our very first guest ever was Richard Penny. So maybe we have a rewind and try to slide.
Boy, that was back. These people get sensitive over some posts every now and then. That was back in the heater days.
That was in the heater days. That's when Richard didn't even care. He was mixing it up with us. So
no, he was ready for it.
Shout out to Richard. He was always ready.
Moving on up.
Steve Field said at Hobie Worlds they use inches and millimeters. They just skip centimeters, go straight to millimeters.
Yeah, that's right.
It solves all the problems. So
you're fishing for them perch. You need every little bit you can get.
Okay. James Snyder said the next World is in Italy. There you go. Thanks,
There
James.
you go. All right.
The more you know. So
there's some info.
That's it. And then I saw our boy Jackson won a trophy over the weekend too. So
he did. He slid on down to Chick and jumped off in that KBFer.
Yeah, congrats to everyone on top 40 finish. Appreciate it.
Way to go, boys.
Well done, everybody. But Jackson, obviously him and his dad, that was a great story coming out of the Kentucky Lake event. So cool to see him go get a first place somewhere. So
he got mad at that one. He said, tell you what, there's a KBF going on down here.
Yeah, he's on a
tear.
Go
take them cookies.
The oars are on a tear. So there you go. And we're going to get Luke in here in just a second, but there's one thing I wanted to talk about, Ryan. And you're not much of a YouTube watcher. I know that.
I unfortunately am not.
You're not. But I watch a fair amount, listen to a lot of podcasts, things like that. And I heard something, and we're going to have him on here. He's actually busy this week. Todd Castledine, if anyone watches his YouTube channel, he's at a Bassmaster Open this week. He couldn't come on and talk about what he said there, but he's going to come on here in the near future. He said something on one of his videos about rules, and it was applying obviously to bass boats and stuff and kind of what's going on with the push A thing and some other things, but it applies to us too. He said there's two types of people. Types of people that read the rules so they make sure they don't break them. And then there's types of people that dig in and read the rules to see how they can get around them. And that hit.
Agree with that.
That hit, and he went into all these different nuances and how he started talking about digging holes and doing all this stuff. So I thought it played right into some of the things we talked about here. So what do you think about the way he described that, those two types of people? He didn't say one was cheaters and one weren't, but the two ways you interpret the rules.
Well, I mean, I've heard it referenced like that quite a bit. Like knowing the rules is like ammunition. Like if you go out there and don't know the rules, you don't know if you're messing up or not, right? But if you know the rules, you're, either extra cautious because you don't want to get in trouble, or you're super slippery and you don't want to get in trouble. Like I think there's a lot of loophole finding. Well, this was in practice, so it was fine. If I think we've seen a fair amount of that.
Yeah, so I'd like to have him on here to get into some of that, because he made some really good points about what if this is done a week beforehand and your buddy. I mean, it was pretty wild stuff. So we'll try to follow up on that and get him on here. But real interesting way to describe it.
I like it.
That said, let's shout out our sponsors and get Luke in here.
Let's do it.
Dugout Bait and Tackle, of course, presenting sponsor of the whole show. Dugout Team, man. Dugout Team's been killing it all around.
Buddy, I mean, there's a few people that can fish down there.
Sure enough. And I've heard rumors that there may be some Dugout Team members switching around different boats. I don't know.
What?
Maybe.
A young Dillionaire picked him up in Old Town. And I said, well, at least you don't ever have to worry about being first to your spot again. He's autopiloting heavy. I think he got a little frustrated at some things and made the old switcheroo. He said Duke's hooked him up with a speed prop. So
prop.
He's flying around out there.
We're trading some messages. So I think he's going to like it. So we'll see. But yeah, of course, Dugout, Hobie dealer, Old Town dealer, best two brands in the game, in my opinion. And then, of course, they've got Jackson as well. Do they have any other rec brands or anything like that? Or is that the big three?
That's the big three.
Big three. Okay. Pro God Lithium. Appreciate them. Nothing but good things to say about them since we got on board with them, and I've been able to put them to use out there. And then Bangtail Whiskey, of course. Ryan, you using any Bangtail as therapy during your Chili's?
I am not touching anything similar to a Bangtail for the next probably 3 months or so. I'm going to try to heal this thing up as quickly as possible.
I like it. Revo, Z-Man, Gil, all three partners of the program. And then tonight, another partner, Seagar. We're doing the Seagar giveaway. So appreciate Seagar.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, all you got to do, like and share on Facebook, like and comment on YouTube, and you're eligible. And we got Steve Fields in the comments giving us NBA finals updates. Appreciate you, Steve.
I'm in Uncle Joel's office, Josh. He is a Green Beret in Nam. So I'm down here in Legends Corner.
Yeah, he's got that airborne insignia back there. That's cool. That's cool. But yeah, let's get Luke in here. He's been chilling in the lobby, leaning up against the window. What's up, Luke?
Hey guys, how you doing?
You want to get that lighting right,
Yeah, it's kind of a corner in here. I don't know. It's where I work, so.
Okay. You work from home a lot or all the time?
I do. I work from home full time. I mean, I go into the office occasionally. It just depends on what's going on. If we have people in town or something, but for the most part, I'm here.
Is that why you win fishing tournaments so often now?
No, because I'm actually working during the day and not fishing. Although sometimes I wonder though, because there's a lot of people out here that they'll just on a Wednesday or something be like, "Hey, can you go fish?"
Yep.
Like, I don't know.
Put them green screens back there on your back of your seat, and then they'll never know.
Yeah, well, I do a lot of teaching. I teach a lot of classes online, so I don't think I could get away with that.
All right. We want to get deep into the fishing, but what is your actual real job, if you don't mind us asking?
Yeah, so I'm a talent manager for a healthcare technology company. I'm based out of Knoxville, but we have employees all over the country. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff, if you need to apply, Jeff's a talent in the healthcare industry. He'd love to be managed.
We are. hey now. This is a three-headed monster of healthcare industry, folks.
I know. We should just turn the podcast and go down a rabbit hole tonight.
Start talking about
that would probably be less interesting. Though.
Yeah, healthcare informatics. We'll put everybody to sleep tonight. But anyway, let's talk fishing.
All right.
Let's talk fishing.
So you won a tournament over the weekend, but it wasn't the first Bass Nation tournament that you won this year, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Let's start with the first one. And I'll tell you why we didn't bring him on for the first one.
We almost made this happen before, and then we were like, no, we got to cancel.
Well, we looked at the old schedule there, and there was some, we'll get into it, some certain things that happened to for these fish to be caught in a certain neck of the woods, and dominated a Tennessee River tournament on some springtime smallmouth with the Bassmaster Championship coming up. So we decided to press pause on that one just so he wouldn't. And you actually cashed a check and got on stage in that one as well. It was the same spot, yeah.
Ish, yeah.
Same area.
Didn't want him
Same
to
general. I mean, yeah, if we're
burn
talking
himself
about
there
miles,
on the on the big one either. But tell us about that tournament. Tell us about that springtime Chickamauga
So
tournament.
the first one, not the championship. Yeah. So the first one, I'd only fished Chickamauga a couple times, and I'd had like zero success out there. I caught a lot of 14 to 16-inch largemouth. Let's put it that way. And so going into that one, I was actually fishing that because I knew that the championship was on Chickamauga, and I was like, I need to practice. So that's why I went and fished that event. And I just decided to not do or try to fish largemouth. I was like, I'm gonna go fish for smallmouth, because if I can get on smallmouth, I have a better shot. And I picked a spot just based on a variety of things, went out there, and I had like, I think it was like 94 inches by like 9 a.m. It was like a couple hours in, because that was before the time change, so they didn't start till like 7. But yeah, it was like 94 inches by 9 a.m. I was like, oof. And so it was just a situation where they were still generating a lot of current. And when they pushed current like that, like through the winter, like 45 to 60 plus thousand CFS, which I know that's dependent on the size of the river, but you guys know, coming out of Chickamauga, that's a really wide river right there. And so they're generating a lot of water. When that current's pushing like that, the fish position well, they're really dumb. When they don't generate a lot of water, they move around, they're really smart. So it's like a totally different thing once they turn the current off. But yeah, that day they were ripping water all day. And I mean, I could talk about it, how specifically it went down, but I don't know.
I mean, that's complete. That's your deal down there. You
yeah, no, I mean, basically, like, I picked an area where there was like I'll just describe it in kind of vague terms, but there was like a point from a rock jutting out. And so what you had was, in the current, you essentially just had water ripping around this sort of artificial point off the riverbank. And so it was kind of funneling everything down. And so what I was doing is, because the water was moving so hard, I was actually positioned upstream of that. And what I would do is I would cast, and I was throwing a 1/2 ounce jig, and it would basically suspend in the water. I was casting downriver, and because the water's pushing so hard, it would just like flutter. It would take it so long to hit the bottom, maybe like 15, 20 seconds. But as soon as they hit the bottom, they pick it up every single time. And so I did that. I mean, I caught like multiple 19s, a 20, like within a span of like 45 minutes, doing the exact same thing, just because they were right there. So that was it. I would get down, because like normally, like a normal drift in a river, right? You would cast up and you'd have the bait moving with the current, because that's like a more natural presentation. But if you do that in that fast moving water, they're going to eat it a lot of times. You have so much slack in your line, they're going to eat it, drop it before you even know that they're on there, or you'll realize last second you go to set the hook and they're not there. So you can't do that. So it's like risking an unnatural presentation, but you have all the feel in the world. That's crazy. So that's what I was doing, and it worked for that tournament. Obviously, I mean, Joby had like, I ended up needing all 99 because Joby had like 97. Yeah. And what was funny is I tooled up towards the like midday. I went up, and I was going up, the point that sits out there off the end of that giant, what would you call it? Like a wall here. Yeah. The big stone wall out there, jetty. That's what I was looking for, off the jetty. And I saw a boat up there, and I was like, who is that? And it was Joby. And I was like, hey, you mind if I fish around the side? He's like, no, go ahead. I've been here all morning. So he was up there, and I mean, there's not like, and you even asked me, you're like, or somebody said, were you sandbagging? I was like, look, I don't like to sandbag. That's not my thing. But like, if you post 94 inches of smallmouth at 9 a.m. on Chickamauga, like, there's only a few places that you can be. And
Yeah,
so
like
I didn't want company. I didn't want company by like 11 a.m. So I held off until about 11:30, and then I posted some fish. But yeah, so that was a fun event for sure.
Let me ask you this, because sorry, Ryan, but I ran into you pre-fishing for the championship, the next tournament.
Yeah, I remember.
And I didn't really have an appreciation for it. And the current wasn't even running apparently as hard as they run it sometimes.
They cut it off too, like a day or two before, cut it down.
But when I saw you, it was still running enough that it was hard to pedal against if you were pedaling. So how do you, doing that presentation that you were doing, were you sitting out of the current? How do you maintain position doing something like that?
I was right out of the current.
Okay.
Either that or like I'll motor up in it. I honestly though, I think you'd have to get out of it. Like you'd have to find a spot where you can pull off and do that, because even if you have a motor on, like you could put the motor up, but you literally have to turn around and face the other direction. You know what I mean? You could probably do it if you had like an XI3 and you had spot lock, you could probably do it easier. But yeah, I think for the most part, you got to get out of the current to do that. But there's, you know, like the way that those banks move, there's little areas off to the side. Like where I saw you, there was a similar spot right there, Jeff, where again, current kind of ripping around some rocks right there. That's actually in the championship. I caught one fish right there right before I saw you. It was like one of the only casts I made when I went out there during practice, because I was just kind of looking around. I made one cast. I caught like a 19 right before I saw you, and I just dropped it in the water. And it was same thing though, where you can kind of pull off the side, get out of it. But yeah, you can.
Okay. Yeah, some folks were asking, did you anchor your kayak? But it sounds like you're just getting those eddies or slack water.
I was just getting kind of out of it so that I could.
Yeah, and be careful. Like I wouldn't recommend anchering in that much current anyway. That's you're asking for something.
Yeah, it's wide enough there, but like if you're on a real river, it's technically a river, but if you're on a real river where they're pushing multiple gens, like no, you don't want to drop an anchor. You'll fill up your boat really fast.
Agreed. So the championship, you went back to the similar area again, did it with smallmouth, worked around, and put up some big ones there.
Yeah, I went out there a couple days before it, like 2 days before, and there were like 15 people out there.
I heard it was crowded. I didn't get to
play fish. It was really crowded. It was packed. There was so many people, and I, like I said, I wasn't really fishing a lot. I was looking for other stuff. Like I was looking for plans B and C, but still off of that ramp. I saw one guy that was like, man, I had 96 inches. And I was like, don't do that. Like why? And then I saw him day one. And he's like, I can't get a bite. And I was like, well, I know of 96 inches that were caught the other day.
Yeah. I mean, that's the problem is people come in and just beat stuff up, even though they're going to fish in the tournament
in practice, because they were still moving water. And that's what happened. They were still pushing like 45 to 50,000 CFS. They dropped it to, I think, 18 or 20 day one of the tournament. Yeah. So you're talking about like a 60% reduction as of day one. As of day two, they dropped it to 12, which was an 80% reduction, and it was just dead. Like it was a lake, and then you had a northern wind too. So it was basically that water, any water that was coming out was moving like upstream. It was terrible. But yeah, I went out there day one. There was a little bit of current. It was not the same kind of bite though. Jeff, where I saw you, I ended up, my first good fish that I got that morning wasn't until like 10 a.m. It was like a 18, 19 inch fish. I kicked my favorite rod off in the water right after that, my jig rod. And I left it though, because I was like, I don't have time to look for it. I had just figured out something, and I went and caught like a 21. That was my big fish for the tournament. And then I went back up, got the rod, found it floating in the water, got it and put it back in, and ended up with like 94 that day. But day two was terrible, which Ryan, I know you don't want to relive that.
Yeah, I still remember that one. It's my Achilles heel, as you would say.
But I mean, it was all the way around. I mean, I thought about leaving so many times. I was like, I need to pick up and go somewhere else, even though I don't have anything else. But I mean, I ended up with like 76 or 77 inches or something. I mean, I
had no idea that day two was going to turn out like that, where you just needed to barely scrape out.
I thought I needed like low 90s again.
Yeah,
is what I thought. So I was like, I got to make this work, but it wasn't the case.
And then continuing the momentum, it seems like what happened this past weekend.
Smallmouth again.
Yeah.
You had a mixed bag up there, didn't you?
No, well, yeah, I caught a lot of largemouth too, but I think all of my fish that ended up measuring were all smallmouth. Yeah,
They
look at them; they're
were.
long and
Look at
skinny.
that. Skinny little smallmouth. They
Yeah,
don't feed them up there, or what's going on, you think?
I mean, Douglas is not a big fish lake.
I know,
It's
but
also
there's a
not a good.
ton
It's
of. They
also
have a lot
not a
of good
good time of
tournaments
year
on
probably to fish
Douglas, though,
fat
right?
ones. But what'd you say?
I said there's a lot of big tournaments that come through Douglas, though. Correct?
Yeah, I mean they put a lot of tournaments on there. I've only been out there a couple of times. That was probably the third day. That was the third day I've ever spent on Douglas. It's
That's a good one.
it's there's a lot of fish. That's the main thing. Like if you just want to go catch fish, Douglas is a really fun lake because there's so many fish. It's just really hard to catch big ones. So I had actually gotten to fish it the weekend before, and I had like one rock that I wanted to go to, like a giant boulder, and apparently it just turns out that it was a community hole. And since I've never been there, I didn't know that. I didn't know that, like, you know what I mean? Like I found this one giant boulder while I was out there for 8 hours, and I thought, oh, this is really cool. I caught a big fish off of it, and so I went. My plan was to go back out there, but first I went to the dam, caught a small limit, and when I say small, I mean like 70 inches. Go to this boulder. It's 6:30 in the morning. There's already a boat just planted right on top of it. Not fishing for those fish, but sitting on top of it. And so I was like, oh man, I got to wait on this boat. So I sat there for a second, waited on the boat to move on, went and fished for them, and they were just like staring at my bait. I mean, they would look at it. They weren't like running, but they were just staring at it. And I was like, this isn't going to work. And so I picked up and left. And I fished bluff walls, stair step walls in like 20 to 40 feet all day. And I caught a ton of fish, and I just culled slowly throughout the day.
I saw Pro Neighbor almost ran you down there. Daniel
He
Lyons.
did. Yeah. I didn't know that because I didn't check. I didn't really look at the leaderboard after like 11 because I knew I was sitting on a lead, but I just couldn't catch any big fish. But again, it's not a big fish lake. So like if you happen on a 19, 20, 21, that's a really good fish. And so he told me at the awards, he was like, I was getting really close. He was catching them there at the end, but you know, you can win with 17 plus inch fish on Douglas for sure.
Apparently,
I mean, if you look at the MLF tournament that was there recently, the biggest limit that was caught, I think, on any day that they fished there was like day 2 qualifying. I'm pretty sure Dustin Connell caught like 17 pounds or something. That was the biggest limit. Most of like the top limits were like 14 to 16.
It's crazy.
And majority were like 12 and less. So it's not a big fish place.
How about that? It's like Arkansas fishing, right?
It is. It is like the Arkansas fishing, except 17 pounds instead of 11.7.
Hey, no.
It's okay. It's all right. What's your favorite lake to fish, Luke? Are you a river guy, lake guy? What do you prefer? Like if you're just picking the fun fish.
I haven't been bass fishing that long, to be honest with you.
Even better.
What'd you say?
I said even better. Out here kicking everybody's butt.
Well, I mean, I grew up doing a lot of fishing. So like my mom's family's from Florida. We did a lot of like saltwater inshore fishing, and then my dad got us a fly rod when we were really young. So I've been fly fishing with my older brother since we were really, really young. Which I know people's eyes start to roll back when you start talking about fly fishing, but it's like a different thing. But for like rivers and streams, it all translates. Because the first time I started bass fishing in 2021, and like last year was my first real year fishing tournaments, and the first time that people took me out on the river, I was like, this makes total sense. Like I get this 100%. It's the static still water stuff that I'm trying to figure out, but definitely rivers are my favorite.
Hey, so. Fishing's fishing. You know, Brian Nelly, who's killing it in the bass fishing world, is relatively new to bass fishing as well, coming over from inshore saltwater and offshore saltwater stuff. So, you know, fishing's fishing, and you can kind of take those instincts and translate them over.
Especially when you figure out the current, like where they position on current, I feel like that translates over to about anything you can find.
Yeah, and especially like on the TVA, like there's current most places on the TVA. So like if you're fishing these lakes out here, I'm sure there are places I could go elsewhere that I would be baffled by. But
I've been told to ask you, how do you feel about beating Jordan Marshall?
About beating Jordan?
Yeah, does it make you happy, sad, indifferent?
I mean, he beats a
India.
lot of people too, so it's like, I'm sure I've been in a bunch of tournaments that he's won, so it goes both ways.
We've all been in a bunch of tournaments he's won, unfortunately.
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
sent us
I'm
a
pretty
picture
sure
of his
he was.
trophy corner the other day. It's just a pile of tons of trophies and plaques in a box. That's
I mean,
what you
at
do
some
with it when you
point
win
though,
that
like
much.
you can't display all of that, can you?
I don't know. We're gonna see if he can. We're gonna try to fill up the road dogging shed with all his memorabilia.
So
Signing autographs
what's
and
your
wearable.
situation? Can you fish, Ryan?
No, I can't.
No.
I could barely take a shower, and I mean that. It's
Wow.
yeah, I can't. I won't be able to like do anything like weight bearing with this boot off for like 2 months, and even then, it's like you got to kind of creep back into using your foot again, I guess. Yeah, I
That's
did
rough.
good. I did good. At least it's in the middle of summer when all the fishing sucks anyway. So that's the
true.
only
Those
upside.
are
If
the
it was
best months.
springtime, I would lose my mind, I think.
Is that your favorite time, springtime?
Oh, by far, anywhere. I mean, there were so many good tournaments this spring. We saw so many huge bags. Like we timed a lot of the lakes really well, on the national stuff. So I think this spring especially. I think between Caddo and Santee Cooper, we hit a lot of the big fish places at the right time.
Yeah, yeah.
Can't beat that.
So that puts you out of like New River.
I wasn't going to go to New River anyway. I already had that one marked off the list. But I was going to try to slip into Cayuga. I was going to try to hit La Crosse and then maybe Rayburn, but nope. I got an elk hunt at the end of September. So my sole target is to be able to somewhat move around by the end of September.
Yeah, because that's rigorous, isn't it? Elk
Yeah.
hunts? Like you're like hiking a lot.
Well, it depends where you shoot it. So we got a nice little spot. If you shoot it on one side of the creek, you can drive the tractor down to it. So that's what I'm going to go for. That's what I'm going to go for.
I got you.
That's awesome.
Next random trivia question I have: Laura Elizabeth Graham. How do you know this lady?
That's my wife.
Yeah.
So I saw Jeff runs the Kayak Bass Nation Instagram account, but I get the notifications too on my phone, and I see this pop up, like a little pink picture. Laura Elizabeth Graham sent you a message, and I was like, "Hey, Jeff, what's going on?" So then I look at my own account, and it's like, her sharing the announcement that you're on the podcast. And Jeff's like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like,
she's like, can I share it on Instagram? And I was like, yeah, you can. She said, can I tag them? I was like, sure, look them up.
She's got some clout, man.
That's big time.
She's got some clout. She's about at 200K. What's the deal there? She Insta famous?
She's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's weird because Instagram, I kind of forget when it hit its stride, but she was, I would say, middle front of the pack, because there was a group of people that hit it when it was like brand new. Same with TikTok, right? Hit it when it was brand new. The algorithm was super organic. You can grow really, really quickly. She wasn't in that segment, but she hit like the next wave because she posted so much. Like when I met her in college, she already posted like multiple times per week, which is pretty unusual. Like people will ask you, they'll say, "Hey, how do I grow on social media?" I'm like, well, just post every day. Legitimately. That's the truth. Just post every single day. That 99.9% of people won't do it. And so you don't have to worry about telling people that. Just post every single day. Yeah. And she's done it for years now. And at some point it became substantial. It's what she does full time now.
That's cool. I thought you were going to go Gary Vee and start cussing, start saying, "You got to post every single month."
Yeah.
He does on his stuff. But anyway,
yeah, that's cool. Awesome. Well, tell her thanks for the shout out. I don't know if we owe her a prize pack or a gift card or something.
No. It's all good. It's all good. That one's free of charge.
All right. Appreciate it.
Well, Luke, man, we appreciate you joining us tonight. And, you've got some momentum rolling all the way through this year. We hope you can continue on with that throughout the summer and fall, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, thanks for having me on, guys.
Congrats again, man. You got to be you're on up there for that AOY race, aren't you?
Well, here's the problem with the AOY race. It's best 4 events. I laid a goose egg basically on Cherokee. And that was the fourth one I fished. And I'm out of the country for the river event. Otherwise, I could probably make it happen with the river event, but I'm gone for the Holston French. And so the last one is Pickwick, and I'm not sure I can swing the drive to Pickwick. So
you can swing the drive to. Come on, man, you can do it.
Man, I would like to fish the Hobies and the Bassmaster too, but it's just hard with. I got two.
Go ahead and win the ALY in the Tennessee Bass Nation, then you can get to the other stuff.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know if I'll be able to do that last event, but we'll see. Anyway,
well, good luck, congratulations, thanks for coming on and loaning us some time here.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you guys. Have a good night.
All right, see you.
Yeah.
All right, from one smallmouth slayer to another.
Dun dun dun.
Bam, Jordan Westerman. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, we're a little behind there, but appreciate you hanging in there listening. Yeah. So we talked about skinny Douglas Lake smallmouth. You did not have that problem. You were up on the land of the giants on St. Clair.
Boy,
I had some skinny ones though.
Did you?
Most of mine were like, they probably moved off the bed today.
Really?
They were right at the tail end of the spawn.
Look at this, man. You're talking about skinny ones. Look at that.
Yeah, that's terrible.
No, man. Tell us about how it went down for you on St. Clair. That was exciting to see. Nearly 200 inches of smallies go up.
Yeah. So, I've been out there a couple times before. We were out there a year ago, the exact same time. So I had found some fish last year, just had trouble getting them to the boat, kind of typical smallmouth on bed stuff. Like, you can find them, you can hook them, but they don't always get to the boat the way you want them to. So I kind of spent a good amount of time over the season learning how to bed fish for smallies a little better. So went back to the same area this time. First day of practice, like first two waypoints I had fish on them. And so I just kind of would check one bed per area I was at, and they all had fish. So had that, and then went and kind of checked a bunch of the main lake stuff. Found a bunch of really good grass bites. That bite right now up there it's ridiculous. You can go have, 40, 50 fish days, no problem. And you're catching on average, like 16 to 18 inch fish. And those fish fight like no other smallmouth I've ever been hooked into. And I've caught a good amount of smallmouth, and they're mean up there, and they definitely don't give up.
That's the nationwide argument, Jordan, is the Susky smallmouth to the Great Lakes and St. Clair smallmouth to the Tennessee River. Which ones are the hardest fighters? And you've probably caught them all, haven't you? You've been all over the country.
I haven't been up to the Susky.
Okay.
That I haven't. I spent a lot of time in like South Dakota, northern Minnesota. I pretty much live in northern Wisconsin right now. So I've spent a lot of time with some brown fish hooked up, and the northern Wisconsin are probably the most freak fish I've ever seen. Like they're footballs. You'll get a 20-inch fish that's 6 pounds. That's just big and fat. But yeah, I need to get up to the Susky and test those ones out. I've heard really good.
They're fun. I mean, you just don't see as many giant, weight wise on the Susky.
Yeah.
There's a ton of that 18 to 20 inch fish range though. I mean, a ton of them. Yeah. Super aggressive. I like that fishery. I haven't fished St. Clair. I want to fish St. Clair. Jay Wallen, I guess his dad was up there last week, right?
Yep.
Was that it, Jeff? Yeah, he was sending us pictures in the group chat of his dad just smashing them.
Yeah, his one of my buddies ran into him when they were out there. Yeah, he was just crushing it. And it's just such a cool fishery as far as like you literally can just find I always tell people if you find water on St. Clair, you're probably going to find fish. Like those fish may be rock bass. They may be 12-inch smallmouth, but like you're going to find fish. It's now finding where the bigger fish are and, what they're relating to. And that's a little more depth oriented. It's just cool. Across our group of guys that I stayed with, we were all on similar patterns, but different depths and like little different areas. And then, everybody caught fish. I think in the 6 in my house, like 3 out of the 6 caught their PBs. And it was it's a fun trip. Like I really wish we'd have more, a bigger circuit hit that again, like when Hobie hit it in the past. But it's also
Buddy,
really tough.
I
with the
promise
weather.
I begged and pleaded for Bass to go there this year. But
It'll
finding a host city was the issue up there. That seemed to be the limiting factor. And, I mean, I get it. That's a business, these guys running these tournaments. It's not just about when you're having a tournament. There's, 10 other pieces that have to line up too. But I'm hoping, we sharpen our pencils a little bit, be able to get up there, because I want to have an excuse to go up and fish a big one up there.
Yeah, it's worth the trip every time I've been there.
Well, take us through your day one. You had 99.5 on day one. Looks like you called a good amount of times. Take us through how your day started and how it progressed. Was it a fast start?
Yeah, fairly fast start. I had, like I said, I had found some fish on beds. I never really looked at. I knew the areas had waypoints from last year, so I never really looked at the size of the fish. I caught an 18 and a 19 in one area, and then a couple more 18s. So I knew I had a decent check if I hooked up on those. I didn't know the quality that was in there. I had saw one bigger fish that was on a bed that I caught a big one on last year.
Oh man.
So it was like I spent most of my morning day one. I was throwing blades and spooks. And then I ended up just kind of sitting on beds. I caught that 20 1/4 first thing, and then just kind of picked off a bunch of big fish. And then, I think I got off the water at 10:30. I had a pretty good drive between spots. So I got off the water. I think I had 98.5. I went
to Waffle House. Is that your next spot?
I went to Popeyes and got lunch.
Yeah.
Hung out for, and then worked my way to my next spot. And then I rolled out, and I think I caught 120. And I probably caught 20 to 30 fish in 2 hours out on that second spot. It was it was stupid.
So what'd you order at Popeyes? Because I think that's probably part of the formula.
I got that spicy chicken sandwich.
Okay, so there you go, people.
There you go. Do you prefer it over Chick-fil-A?
I don't get too many areas that have a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, okay. At, so okay.
I'll have to try that a little.
So you fish in the hood quite a bit. All right.
Pretty much, yeah. The northern hood.
Got it.
That's fine.
So you said you were primarily did you have to finesse any of these fish? I know bedfish and smallmouth in this neck of the woods, you got to get pretty slow and pretty finessey to get those fish pissed off enough to take a swipe at it.
Yeah, these fish they definitely were tail end had been beat up. They've been caught multiple times.
Yeah.
So I did have to kind of circle through baits on day one. I think, and probably 3 of the 4 that I caught off beds, I lost more than one time. When they get towards the tail end of the spawn, their mouths are so messed up that getting a good hook in them is really hard, you know, and it's you hate to beat up on fish like that, but at the same time, we travel to tournaments. You got to do something that is going to put fish in your boat and is going to put quality fish in your boat. And a tournament where they're on beds, you can't really, avoid the big ones on beds.
Yeah. Do you have them where they'll clamp down? This is what I've noticed, especially toward the end of the spawn. They'll clamp down on the hook so hard. I mean, literally bite it so hard that they'll fight all the way to the boat. And then they open their mouth all right, I'm done fighting now. You never even had a hook in them the whole time, which blows my mind about fish that big that will they'll be pulling drag, get all the way to the boat. And I'm all right, here's your lure back.
Yeah. I ran into that. And that's where I've spent so much time over the past year bed fishing, because a lot of the lakes up north, I caught fish on beds June, July, August, September. September was the last month I caught fish on beds last year. So I caught a lot of fish off beds just trying different hooks, different weights, different, it's drop shot stuff. You got to use the smallest hook that you can so that the second they touch it, you hit them. I use that EWG Ned because it's got a really small hook, but it's strong and you can really you can lean into them.
Yeah.
And I use a lot of baitcaster stuff for them too. I didn't catch any on a baitcaster this time, but like I'll flip like a dark sleeper, and it all depends on the mood of the fish. Just like a largemouth, sometimes they're in that negative mood and they just don't want anything to do with it. And so you got to you got to tap them in the tail and get them spinning and get them spinning and get them spinning. And the more times that you can spin them, the more that they're going to get. And then it's just that one time that you can put that bait right in front of their nose and they'll eat it. And, those are also the times where they're sometimes don't get the best hookup, but it's like some of the times that's the only way you're going to get that fish to go. And that's the way on day 2, it took that I had to leave my bed fish because they were super negative. And it's like, you really have to work these fish. That's one thing that I've learned over the time is how to read a fish. Are they going to eat? Are they not going to eat? And, am I wasting my time or not?
Buddy, you got them identifiers down, don't you? My man.
You got to write them down as many times.
He's got off cell block D.
You can't screw up.
Dirty Mike over there.
I reckon.
Prison Mike. Yeah. Man, those fish, you said it, Jordan, as we were introing the show there, or introing you coming on. These fish look mean. Every single one of them looked mean. That one had where was that one at? Look at it. He's tattered up. He's been through it, but he's thick and strong looking.
I was catching them there in reeds too. So it was like, you had to get them out of that stuff. And sometimes they get triple, they're getting wrapped up and you just having to work them out. And
that's what I was going to ask. Were you sight fishing, like standing up, flipping to shallow beds, or were these like 12 foot beds you're watching on live scope?
No, these were like 5 foot beds. I could see everything. They were very, very hard to see the actual fish on it. Most of the time I'd have to flip a bait in. This has a very slow presentation to see if they'd flash or move, to see if they are on the beds. A lot of the times I'm just, looking for tails, just barely moving. The other thing, when they're getting that post spawn, they get very thin. And up there, they're very, like the very light fish are on light beds. The dark fish are on dark beds, and you can barely see them. So when they get skinny, that makes them blend in even more. And, you're really having to pay attention to tails. And that's why I kind of chose the area I was at, because it was a little shallower, and I could visually see them a little bit better. Now, the last All American, when we were up on Okoboji, I did a little more having a live scope for fish on beds on that one.
How does Okoboji compare to St. Clair? Because we hear a lot of talk about Okoboji, so I want to know where that ranks.
That was a question, Ryan. Bob
was it? Okay.
Yeah,
well, look at me. I'm just channeling my inner Bob.
Yeah.
So Okoboji and like Spirit, like the Iowa Great Lakes, has a better largemouth population, like a big largemouth population. Like you can go, it takes 25 to 28 pounds pretty much every week until about right now. For derbies, Friday or Saturday and Sunday, 2 days a week, it'll take over 25 pounds a week of largemouth. Spirit, that's a little more smallmouth oriented. It takes like 22 to 24 pounds a week to win up there. They're phenomenal fisheries. Like the amount of fish in them is insane. I would say the same, if not more, than what you have at St. Clair. The quality of fish, because of the gobies, is a little better up at St. Clair. We have zebra mussels. We don't have the goby deal. So we don't have you're not catching 6 and 7 pound smallmouth. You're catching 5.5. My limit up there was all 19-inch smallmouth. So it's like they're all good fish, but they're not they're not freaks. But they're both phenomenal lakes.
Could those lakes, or the combination of those lakes, I'm not familiar with them, host a bass or a Hobie sized event?
They could, but the problem you run into is you would have to do it in the spring or the fall, and they're so loaded with boat derbs that you're going to have 150 boats every weekend. And then let's see, it's like 12,000 acres. So it's not like they're huge. Like there's enough. If we had it all to ourselves on like a spring or a fall, it'd be no problem. There's enough fish there. There's enough everything. But if you add in the boat traffic in the summer, just with the pleasure craft, like we can't get out there. And then in the spring and fall, there's so many boat derbs that it's just the amount of people gets a little out of control.
Yeah. Be a little tight, I guess.
Yeah, I think we had, there was 5 or 6 this year, and last year I think there was 6, and it was like close to 300 boats, but it didn't fish that bad, you know. Everybody caught fish.
Yeah.
But even on St. Clair, though, that's as it gets later on warmer, I guess. I've heard a lot of kind of, I don't want to say horror stories, but detractor stories of all the pleasure boats just running around all day long, big yachts, cabin cruisers and stuff all the time.
Yep. Yeah. When we were up there for the Hobie in late June, it gets to be, if you're outside of one of the little canal entrances, like it's a constant traffic of yachts and speedboats and jet skis. And, if you're back on the north end and some of the canal areas, it's just jet ski after jet ski after, and then you add in the bass boat traffic, and there's a lot of people up there. Same thing with Okoboji. Like you get in the summer, like we can't have an event up there. There's too many people. I think at one point AJ tried to do it, and the chamber was like, yeah, we don't need 100 kayaks here in the summer. Like our hotels are booked. Sorry. It's like, it's too bad, but they're a tourist town that has too many tourists as it is,
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Maybe in the spring, maybe someday. We'll see.
Ice fishing.
I would love it. Like I said, the fishing's amazing. I know we had some good numbers as far as I think I'd had 97, 93 for that tournament. And, my whole day one was smallmouth, and it was a mixed bag on day 2. Or I mean, the other way around. Day 1 was was a mixed bag. Day 2 was all smallmouth.
Yeah. Fish on YouTube says cobalts on Bogie will dump a guy in a second.
Mm-hmm.
They have no regard.
Yep, they don't care up there.
It's like mini Lake of the Ozarks. Is that what's going on over there?
Kind of, not as similar. I mean, it's like a lot of docks, clear water, really clear water. It's West Lake's 15 to 20 foot of visibility, and you'll see thousands and thousands of bluegills everywhere around every dock. It's bluegills as far as the eye can see, and yeah, it's really cool.
Sounds delicious.
Cool. That's where and then Berkeley's like right out of there, so they got a Berkeley little shop there, so you can go get crazy deals on all their max scent stuff.
Really? A little outlet center? That's cool.
It's worth the trip just for that.
We got a question on YouTube. Tim Sear, this is back to your St. Clair event. Were you fishing, or are you fishing light line to catch those fish? You said you were throwing some baitcaster stuff, but you caught most of them on spinning setups. Yeah,
most of it was 10 pound to anything on the bed. I was fishing 10 pound. When the fish are super fired up in that shallow water, if you're not quick enough to, you got to hit them with your drag fairly locked, and then you got to be really quick to loosen it. And if you're not quick enough with 8 pound, they'll pop that every time. And I've ran into that a lot, where it's like you have to get that really good hook penetration, and then you have to back your drag off right away. And if you're not fast with that, they'll break that line so fast. So I try to do the bed stuff with 8. And then when I was fishing open water, I was fishing a Senko over grass. And I would go down to 8 with that, because I feel like I was getting more bites with 8. I don't know if it would get it down a little more, give it a little more action or what it was, but that's where the only time I was doing 8. I will flip like 12 and 17 pound on the beds if they're in a little thicker stuff, or if they're in a really positive mood. It's really fun to crack them and get them to the boat without, you can get them to the boat now. And that's where I'll use like a dark sleeper, or I think Gambler makes it like a little Ned hook that you can put a Ned bait on, and you can flip it on heavier weight, and like you can craft them with it, and it doesn't bend. I've never bent one out. So
Very cool. For those not familiar with Jordan, he's one of the most technically sound anglers, one of the best anglers in the country. I know you. I've known you since the days of the Midwest Kayak Series, Jordan.
Yep. The good old days. That was when it was
the good old days. Yeah. So I know you've been doing this and been around and fished all the different series and qualified for all the different championships. So no surprise that you're having success on the All American Series. But I've been a little bit surprised that the All American Series, because the Classic has been gigantic, but the series hasn't quite caught the same momentum. What do you think's holding them back from really blowing up like the actual Classic is?
I don't know. We talk about that every time. It's like this tournament, they said it was the pre-fishing. All the locals wanted to be on the water during the best time. Well, I don't know if that was true. They had a derby last weekend, so that wouldn't have been last weekend. It's like, I think what we're running into now across everywhere is we have so many options. It's like, when the MKFS was around, Jeff, we had maybe one local club per state. Now every state has 3 local clubs. We have Hobie, we've got Bass, we've got there's a native one there. I don't want to say we're watering it down, but we've got so much of the same stuff. It's like, I like the All American because they're trying some different stuff, going to Friday, Saturday. I think that's a really good call. I think that's hurting some of the numbers. The payouts are good. They're better than anybody else. If we can get the numbers up, they pay the next day. It's like, that's something in kayak fishing that doesn't happen. You don't get paid the next day. That money's in my account already. It's like, it's Monday. Now they paid me yesterday.
That's crazy, isn't it? Almost like they took that in on entry fees or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way that Josh does. He's like, this isn't my money. I'm not. Like,
right.
So I don't know why they don't. I look at their schedule. It's like every lake on their schedule this year was somewhere that is maybe not a bucket list, but it's like right up there with it. Like Lake of the Pines isn't somewhere that I would have went to, but this year going there, like, we cracked some big fish out of there. Tyler caught 104 inches. Like, everybody caught one over 20. Like, Jaron Brandes caught one almost 24. It's like, there was big fish caught, but the numbers are down, and it's, I get people travel to the other ones. I do too. The All American schedule looks way better to me as far as like where the events are. The next event they have up in Minocqua, that's going to be the most fun derb in the country this year. Like, if you don't have it on your schedule, like, go there. Like, it will take over 200 inches of smallmouth. I have no questions. Like, if I don't do it, somebody's going to do it.
Do you think that some of that is just name recognition from folk? Like, I've never heard of Minocqua as a, what I mean? You hear, because we're kind of used to the same names coming up, every year. We hear Chickamauga.
Is that the capital of Nicaragua?
But we have St. Clair on there, and it got
True.
It's like that's true. We had Palestine last year. It's like decent numbers. We had Conway. Like, that's like very low numbers there. The Truman event, like during the Classic, didn't get good numbers. So I don't know what it is.
I wondered if, because you can go to the Classic just from your local club, if that people are like, well, I don't have to go to the series. I can just go.
I think that's what pumps those Classic numbers up too, right? So I think that's why you might be getting kind of a skewed, viewpoint. Like, well, why don't we have these numbers? Well, because those guys are just fishing their local club to get there. I think that might be a big part of it.
I know Ryan and I had hoped for big things. We had Josh on preseason talking about the series, and still may happen in the coming years. I don't know, but it's been an interesting deal to watch.
It's like, it's getting to is it worth Josh's time? Because his time's worth something. Is it worth the angler's time? It's like, obviously this tournament was worth my time, but Tyler might have made it. I don't think he made his money back at second place. So it's like, that's not worth it for a lot of the anglers to go to. Sure, like, a trip to St. Clair is a good excuse for a lot of people. You know, same thing with the Monaco one. If we can get people up there, like those lakes up there are some of the best in the world. You know, like I said, it's going to take some big numbers. There are world-class fish. People have a chance at a fish over 8 pounds, you know, brown fish over 8 pounds. So,
hey, one I was kind of hoping to maybe fish was the Mine Lands one at the end of the year there.
mm-hmm.
That's a pretty,
Yeah.
that won't be a giant fest. It's a lot of small fish, but it's a really, really cool place. Really cool place.
That one, they have one on 13 and 14, pools 13 and 14 on Mississippi. They're crazy fun to fish. Like it's like the upper pools, but with actually has adult fish sizes in it. Like you can go catch fish over 20 inches. You can catch 20 inch smallmouth.
What?
Big fish. Like,
they had that in the cross. Ryan would already been there.
I know, right? Goodness.
I love lacrosse. It's a tough place to fish a derby at.
I know. I just look at the numbers and it's like everybody's got 84 inches. And I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
It's a long way from home. Isn't it,
Save the
Ryan?
gas on that one, baby.
But like I always put it, like last year I was up there for a week before the tournament, and like midway through the week I was looking for places to live there. I'm like, this is the greatest place to fish ever. But then on Derby Day, it's like, I hate catching 17-inch fish in the first place. Like the only good thing about there is that you're catching a lot of them. But now on Derby Day, it's like, this is not fun. Then you throw in the pike and the bowfin and the now Jeremiah is, you know, he's one of the best things that we have in kayak fishing. So I love him for all that he does for us. So we'll continue to have great events up there thanks to him. But
hey, and I'm like you, Jordan. I like the area. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool place to be and hang out and have events. Just the fishing can be a little bit.
Yeah, it's
a little bit tough.
but when the fishing's on, like you can go out there and have big days. Like I'm not saying that, you know, I've gone out there and caught 90 inches pre-fishing on smallmouth, flipping a jig like in heavy current, like doing the stuff that you want to do, almost punching mats for smallmouth. But you know, it's like it's needle in a haystack stuff. So on tournament day, if you're not running the right stuff, like you're just like, you got to come across those numbers, and you're not going to do that day after day after day up there.
Those 90-inch smallmouth limits that has burned our mutual friend Christine Fisher every time we've gone across.
Yeah, me and her have so many talks about that. About like, you know, it's like do not do it. And every time it's like you go up there and pre-fish and they're just crushing everything. You know, it's like you can go get on a walking bait bite. Like I said, that really heavy jig bite is like the coolest thing ever, but it's never panned out for me in a tournament. It's burned me every time, every single time up there. But it's always fun.
You can't help it. You can't help but try it though.
Yeah, because they're there and there's big numbers of them. But, you know, I've been in areas watching them chase schools of shad, and you can watch them blow up. And if they're in the current doing that, by the time you cast at them and hook one, the next time you can get to them, they're a quarter mile down the ways, and you're running after them, and they're just following that current, pushing, and they're gone. They move so fast and so much. It's like, you know, I don't know if it's like the TVA, they can set up on stuff. The Mississippi, they just set up and go and go and go and go, and they never stay anywhere.
It's like chasing kingfish in the ocean.
Yeah.
We had
always gonna break your heart.
Had a question from YouTube. Faith First Fishing on YouTube said, do you have any tips, Jordan, on how to fix the bad hookup ratio with dark sleepers? You mentioned dark sleepers a couple times.
Dark sleeper, take that back hook and bend it up just a touch. Like I like to have the that hook just barely pointing out. You're gonna hook up on stuff a little bit. If you're flipping into wood and stuff, you'll hook up a little bit better or a little worse. I stole a bunch of the sleeper or the Savage Gear gills from Christine. Those work really good too.
Okay. So, have you thrown the sleeper gill any? The sleeper gill?
I have. I've caught some big largemouth on those down in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a cool little bait. And they've got that sleeper craw. I've caught a bunch of big fish on that too. That's a really cool bait.
The sleeper. Tim Gurley says smallmouth take tourney day every time off. Every time on the river, they take tourney day off.
They try to.
Never trust them unless they're Ryan's pet fish.
It's a tough bet. Even those will try to get you, man. Got to watch those.
The thing with smallmouth is you have to make adjustments. And you have to know that at some point in your day, if you're not on them, like you can get right now. And so it's like a mental thing. Like if you're going to be on smallmouth, like you got to be able to wait out a bite, because it could take 6 bites to catch 100 inches real quick. You know, it's like there are times where you can't get your bait out fast enough to them, and you know they're there, but there are times where it takes the whole day to get to them. You know, you look at a lot of the Elite Series tournaments and the Pro Derbs that the guys are winning, they're not always on them. They're running and looking for them and making moves, and it's all about that decision that you make on the brownfish that is gonna, you know, it's similar in largemouth, but smallmouth, just you can get so right so quick.
Ryan, I feel like you need to have Jordan lined up with the batch of you guys to do a smallmouth segment.
Yeah, we can do that.
Could definitely do
Make that happen. We'll have to go somewhere fun though, like Managua or wherever.
Managua.
Wherever we're going. Wherever we're going in Central America.
Nah, Jordan's a library of knowledge. So I think he'd be great on there. It'd be awesome. Any more questions for Jordan before we let him slide out of here? I haven't seen any more NBA Finals updates from Steve Fields. I'm disappointed.
I haven't either. I got it on over in the next room. I'm going to go watch the Nugs close it out.
He gave me an update at the beginning of the show, and that was it. That's sorry, son of a gun.
Thanks, Steve.
Jordan, what's your plans for the rest of the year as far as tournaments, big tournaments?
I'll be at the river at Mississippi, and then I'm going to do both the river events, the bass and the Hobie, the river event, and then the Monaco event for All American. And then I'm not really sure what I'm going to do after that. Kind of see where everything takes me in the fall.
Somebody wants to know your Instagram. What's your Instagram handle?
It's Wester Dude, kind of my name. Instead of man, it's dude.
Any spaces or hash or tags? Just Wester Dude?
Nope. Yep, just Wester Dude.
Put it in the comments for me.
Spaces or hashtags or whatever you
Hashtags
kids
or
use.
underlines or whatever.
None of that cool kid stuff.
Pound sign?
Italics.
I call them pound signs, Ryan. That's what I call them.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, hey, we appreciate you taking time to join us tonight.
Thanks for having me on.
Well done.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you
We'll
very
let you
much.
slide out of here, man. All right. Jordan Westerman, everybody. My man can catch him, Ryan.
I gotta know some things. He knows some things.
He knows some things. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, but I think he'd be a hell of a bass shoe guy.
Well, I have to now. So
Yeah,
thanks,
here you
Jeff.
go. So that brings us to the giveaway.
Let's do it.
All you got to do, as you can imagine, is hashtag Seaguard in the comments to win. We had a healthy audience tonight, and then we need to get Ryan to get his Achilles medicine and watch the end of the
Dude, I'm about to cut this thing off. My leg is on fire right now. I put on one of those compression socks inside this boot, I guess. There's something ablaze in there. It is not treating me well.
No good. You need to
Dude, honestly, if I could find a doctor that would just go ahead and put this in a bucket, I'd let him in a heartbeat. I do not like it.
Get you one of them blades and just walk around one of them.
That's exactly what I told Mackenzie. She's like, Dad, and I was like, you get one of them blades, I'd be like Tigger out there hopping around. Boing, boing.
I didn't ask you how the reaction from the moms and daughters, how'd that go down when everything happened? Or did you just play it off?
I mean, like I gotta man up, I got up and acted like I'd rolled my ankle. So I walk over to the sidelines on it, like about to fall down like a baby giraffe. And I get over there and I reach down and feel the left side, my left leg, and there's tension on that Achilles. And I feel the right side and there's like a defined gap. And I was like, uh-oh. At that point, I realized I had messed up. But yeah, everybody's like, go to the hospital. But there's not anything they can do, at that point. So
No.
all over but the crying,
It'll heal up. You'll be faster than ever when it heals
I know,
up.
man, but I was gonna go try to get some tarpon with Barton next weekend down in Pensacola. It's put a damper on my plans.
Can he tow you? Just prop that foot up and tow you around?
Yeah, dude, I couldn't get to the beach. I'd have to get a golf cart or something to get down there. Like I can't get up and down the hallway. It's nuts. Put beach tires on the scooter, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. So sad.
I ain't seen that before.
All right, y'all. I'll give you another second or two. Jamie O says praying for a speedy recovery, Ryan.
I don't know if there's going to be anything speedy about this one. I'm just trying not to hurt it worse. That's my goal every day.
There you go. All right, let's hit it. We're gonna do the giveaway as the names tick by. We appreciate everybody watching tonight. That was a good show.
Lots of info in
I
that
know.
one. Dude, that throwing a jig with the current, like that was nuts to me. Chris O'Connor. All right.
There you go. Getting Ryan's DMs and get you some Seagar stuff.
Yep. Send me your shipping information and I will shoot it over to Brian at Seagar.
Yeah, if you don't have Facebook and you can't do that, just email kayakbassnation@gmail.com and we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. There we go, Ryan.
Let's
Good
do
show,
it.
man.
Go watch us some basketballs.
All right. Appreciate it, buddy. We'll see you
Later.
next week.